My thoughts on this new game mode that they've introduced a brand new map for has taken clear inspiration from some retro. To be honest, you wouldn't know these games. Really, most people wouldn't know anything about these games. This, however, just to summarize, in my opinion, is what they should have done a long time ago. And they've taken some... Oh my god, this car handles like ass. They've taken some of the best aspects of these old school games that appeal to, you know, the most senior of community individuals who will remember what these games played like. And we get to access a little window through history via this game mode. And what games am I talking about? Twisted Metal, Vigilante 8, shit, even Hovercraft. To an extent, this car handles like a sausage. But what I do enjoy is the chase, and it would be interesting if they had more of a NASCAR circuit or game modes / levels that had slightly more of a theme associated with it. For example, every map in this game is as follows. It's like this game mode, this map is post-apocalyptic town or city, abandoned structures. Change the game mode, change the game, change the map. Guess what? Post-apocalyptic, abandoned structures, grey backgrounds, grey environment, brown environment, very samey, very boring, almost depressing. What I'm suggesting is we look into the lore and history of Crossout and say, why can't we access these points in time that would have had altered the, you know, image of the environments we play within? So why can't I play on a NASCAR circuit? Pre-pandemic, pre-Crossout outbreak. Why can't I play through a shopping mall? Pre-pandemic, you know, as the Crossout pandemic is hitting, so that you can witness, you know, what was happening at the time of it occurring. This sort of stuff is very telling, and it can engross and immerse the players in the story and environmental storytelling of a game that has yet to really, if we're honest, reach potential. They've changed the color of the ice cream truck. So it's pretty straightforward what I want to suggest here. Let's give us some interesting maps that tell more about the story of Crossout, and we can be a part of it as gamers that get to play it. I feel like that's pretty simple. I feel like that would be interesting to experience. And it can't be that hard to really implement. Could be dead here. I would, suggest getting more environmental with the storytelling on this game. That's all. Because, yeah, the arenas, they're pretty well made. But I'm saying, look, you can turn it up a little more and say, give us something a bit extra that truly describes the scene and the history. Maybe the vehicles, maybe the drivers, and what they go through, what they have seen. And I haven't even mentioned the Ravagers yet. We haven't even talked about that. I'll just go and you can correct me. But as far as I understand, there was a meteor that hit the Earth. And the meteor, two things happened. There was like a surge of radiation that poisoned the Earth. And from this radiation, it also affected people. And it created the pandemic, the Crossout virus. And it didn't just kill people, it would warp them into these vessels of light. For example, the first of those affected were known as are now known as the nomads. And they wear these barriers, these suits in the world that encloses them and almost shuts them off. And they are represented by these masks that hide them. Okay. And you also had the first responders to the Crossout pandemic. These were known as the engineers, and they are a faction you can play. The engineers were the first responders to the Crossout pandemic, and they're supposed to be the most resourceful. And they are your starter faction in game when you first get involved. So they were like the vestiges of humanity that remained and have endured. And you also had like the tribalism and certain off branches like Psycho Pete, Firestarters, Steppenwolves, which is like your military faction, Scavengers, which are your stereotypical Mad Max kind of faction that do nothing but steal things from people, maybe put sort of interesting forms of technology together. So as the story progresses, what occurred is somehow, somewhere, the Ravagers were like an entity from this alien craft, and they started kidnapping drivers, and they would overtake their car and erase their memories. And eventually the drivers would become trapped in their car, and they would become a symbiote within it. And if you do play the Awakening PvE adventure game mode, where you can also earn a load of resources, if you're a new player, this is where you begin. It does tell you more about that Ravager occurrence and what it means and what they do to people. And that, in my opinion, is something they should definitely put more work on to make this game super interesting for some people. Anyway, we have spoken a bit about Crossout and the story. That is the gist of things as we embark now for new ventures.